Lesson 5, we are talking about absolute value. Now, do you recall what absolute value was?
Yes.
What is it?
How far away the number is from 0.
How far away the number is from 0. So, for example, -5 and 5 are exactly time out. All right, so -5 and 5 are exactly 5 spots, 5 units away from 0. And we always express absolute value as a positive number. So we're talking about how far away a number is from 0. So the absolute value of -5 would equal 5, and the absolute value of 5, again, equals 5. We always express them as positive numbers. Make sense so far? All right. So let's take a look at that real quick. Here is the absolute value. What is the absolute value of 11 minus 2? So what we would do is find out what 11 minus 2 is first, which is 9. So the answer to the absolute value, why did I just write that? The answer to the absolute value of 11 minus 2 would be 9. We do the math inside the absolute value symbols first, and then write the answer on the outside as positive 9. Now I'm going to do the same problem with one small, teeny tiny change. Oh, time out. So here's the change I'm going to make. What do you think the answer is now? -9. Now, while the absolute value of 11 minus 2 is still 9, once you've got that, that negative sign on the outside will come into play and change your answer from 9 to -9. You called it, you had it right. That's exactly what would happen on that. All right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. Now, let's talk about our positive and negative numbers. You had this down pretty good last year. Okay, let's take a look at numbers with the same signs. Numbers with the same signs. If the numbers have the same signs, you add, the rule is you add the absolute values of the numbers and then use the signs they had as the answer. So, and I'll do some examples of what that means. All right, so 3 plus 2 are both positive numbers. The answer to 3 plus 2 is 5, because adding the absolute value of 3 and 2 is still staying 3 plus 2. And you keep the sign it had so it'll stay positive. And now if we take the same thing, -3 plus -2, I add the absolute values. 3 plus 2 is?
5.
And then I keep the sign. So the answer would be -5, right? So we're talking about this algebraically. We're not going to talk about it non-algebraically, I guess is easy to say. All right. Now, what if we're talking about numbers with different signs? It's a slightly different thing. What do we have to do this time when they have different signs? We find the difference in of the absolute values.
Wait, are we talking about adding or subtraction?
If we're talking about different signs, we are talking about, technically, we're talking about subtraction. I'll show you.
Okay.
We find the difference of their absolute values, and then we will use the sign of the largest let me change that. Use the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value. Now, I'm going to write these terms not as a simple subtraction problem. I'm going to write them algebraically. So 3 plus negative 2, since these are different signs, 3 plus negative 2 is a different sign. Here, let me slow down for a second for you. All right, so 3 plus negative 2, those have different signs, correct?
Yes.
So we're going to follow these rules. Find the difference of absolute values. So yes, that's subtraction. What is 3 minus 2? 1. And then we use the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value, which is a positive number, right? So the answer is going to be 1. Now, I'm going to use the same numbers. I'm just going to change the signs. Okay, so I can, if I said negative 3 plus 2, our answer is going to be slightly different. Well, I shouldn't say slightly. That's going to be a lot different. And I'm going to write it, I forgot to my parentheses, so I'll write it algebraically to keep the same thing, keep that negative sign contained. Negative 3 plus 2, we still do the same thing, subtract, find the difference of the absolute values. What's 3 minus 2? 1. But the biggest number is negative. So the answer is going to be negative 1. Okay, does that make sense? Now that's old news, but we're talking algebraically, so maybe not old news. Let's do a couple examples of this, of these rules that we just looked at. All right, negative 12 plus 21. I have different signs, so I have to do what? All right. So what's 21 minus 12? Mm-hmm. 9.
Yeah. Great.
Positive or negative 9?
Positive.
Yes, because the biggest absolute value is a positive number, so it's positive 9. Negative 19 plus negative 8. Now these have the same sign, so all I gotta do is add. And before I even add, since they're both negative, I'm just gonna write my negative sign so I don't forget to do it. So what is 19 plus 8?
27.
Yep, 27. All right. 3.2, 3 2/10 plus negative 5 1/10. These are opposites. So this, I find the difference, so I subtract. What is?
2.1.
Not 2.1.
No, that's not.
1 point something. 1.9. Positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative, because the biggest absolute value was a negative number. All right. Does that make sense? All right, so let me give you a statement. Tell me if this is true or false. All right? The set of rational numbers, so the set of all rational numbers is closed under addition. It means if I add any two rational numbers, will I still get a rational number?
True.
True. A set of positive integers is closed under addition. So if I add any two positive integers, will I still get a positive integer? Answer is true. All right. All right, let's do one short little word problem. Easy one. Okay? Much easier than yesterday. Temperature at 7 p.m. is going to be 34 degrees Fahrenheit. No, but for today. Okay, 34 degrees Fahrenheit. By midnight, the temperature is going to fall 12 degrees. So what's the temperature at midnight? What do we need to do? 22. We just did 34 minus 12. Right? Very good. That's it. That's today.